I was listening to some Bobby McFerrin, and I had a grumpy child who will remain nameless. I'm just like, no, we're just turning on Don't Worry, Be Happy. And after it played once, I'm like, no, we need to do more of this. And we listened to Don't Worry, Be Happy on repeat, probably for a good hour. And it was delightful. Elika, she was so cute. She was taking the microphone and pretending to sing in it. And she was doing the oohs. Ooh, and she's like, Mom, sing. And she'd hold the microphone. I'm like, don't worry. And she's like, no.
She's your little director.
She is my little boss, bossy pants.
You're listening to the Voice Messages podcast. I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Lindsay.
We have a passion for music and the voice, and we love sharing the insights we've gained to help others elevate their voices and their lives.
In this podcast, we will listen to what's really going on in the voices all around us to see what messages there are for us in our own voices. Presented by Eleve Voice Studio. I love Bobby McFerrin. He's just so impressive to me. The more I've studied jazz choir, the more he just kind of pops up in different places. He's an incredible musician. He's an educator. If you ever get a chance to go to a Bobby McFerrin concert, be prepared to participate because you will be expected to sing. He will pull people up on stage, but not necessarily. Have you ever had a chance to see him?
Not live or personally, but that's how I've kind of come to know that side of him is through like little clips and stuff that have surfaced of him directing the audience in one big choir or helping them to modulate and harmonize by taking different sections of the audience and just directing them all in one big song. And yes. He's fantastic.
He's so fun. We're going to start with his performance of Blackbird. Tell me what your reaction is.
Right off is like, if there ever was someone who sounded like they were playing the full extent of the vocal instrument as an instrument, that I feel like is what that sounds like. The part where he was like going from high to low, it almost kind of sounded like, and I'm a string player, and so it almost kind of sounded like a bow, like going on two different strings. It's almost kind of how it sounded.
No,
but it was so smooth, and it sounded like he just had full control over this instrument and was playing it so skillfully. It was shocking.
Well, yes. And I mean, just to state the obvious, like my jaw just drops. Did you notice when he breathed?
No, but was it on the
Yes.
Was he doing it on the up? Okay.
He breathed.
Was he vocalizing on the up take?
He's breathing while singing. It didn't pause to take a breath. He just continues to vocalize through the breath. Consequently, the tone is very different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
But because he's singing so lightly through the whole thing, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like clearly.
Like, yeah.
Hyperventilating, but
yeah,
it's so impressive. And I love how, because it's a familiar song, he can cut out certain words while he's doing a bass note or a harmony note or whatever, and then comes in at the appropriate time, and our minds just fill in the rest. And so he doesn't need all the stuff to fill it in. It's so so expert. The other thing that I really love about that is that you hear just how expertly, I mean, you were talking about that with the strings, but going from the low string to the high string, the low string,
Yep.
and that engagement, we should listen to it
Yes.
again. You hear that engagement from the bottom to the top. Like it's not super heavy on the low notes, but there's a little bit more, and then he's up at the top and it's so light, and that just matches with the breathing in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. I love it. So,
And not to like go too far with this string analogy, but it makes sense to me. And I don't know if this helps listeners at all, but with a bow, with a bow pressed to a string, the harder you press down, the more that string resonates and vibrates, and that louder sound you're going to get. And the lighter, the less contact you have on the string, the less sound that's going to come out. It's not going to be as clear of a tone.
yes, because the more we lean into our voice, lighter, you get a louder, and it's just a clearer, cleaner sound. Yes,
You can
and
even just hear it
yes,
just getting together, full connection.
yeah, no, I love this string instrument analogy. I love that.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to Don't Worry, Be Happy, because
Okay.
how can you do Bobby McFerrin and
course.
not do Don't Worry, Be Happy? This particular recording is actually of him doing it live, which is interesting because the whole Don't Worry, Be Happy is all Bobby McFerrin, but multiple tracks. Today you hear more of that with like the loop pedal, but back then that was less common.
Try it. That's not very good, but I'll accept it. Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. In this life, expect some trouble. But when you wear it, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy. It's people do the gag, the good, the gag. It's a better don't worry, be happy.
Right? Like,
Wow.
so okay.
I like don't even know what to say, because all I can think is just like cool. Like wow. Because it just really is the vocal I mentioned
Acrobatics.
yes. Oh my gosh, acrobatics, the precision, the accuracy, the
Yes.
coordination, the flexibility. We could just throw, he's like an Olympian.
He really is.
It's a skill level that I almost can't comprehend.
I really like that particular recording because contrasted to the Blackbird, where it's really light and he's got that back and forth, that agility. This he's demonstrating that agility, but it's not so light. He's taking breaths. He's not breathing in his pitches. He's just, but they are clear as a bell. Right?
Yeah.
I think that his agility is probably, I mean, I don't know what he thinks about, but his agility is his focus far more than trying to sing out loud or sing super quiet or anything. That it's that agility of experiencing the whole expanse of his range. And because he's focused on staying free, he can go high and he can go low and he can add a little bit of weight. And you do hear that. Let's listen again.
Yes.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. In this life, expect some trouble. But when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy. Woo! Into the people do the gaga, the good the gaga. It's a better do the baby do don't worry, be happy.
Love how at that high part he just really leans into that, and you can hear it just so clean, but it's not heavy. After having heard these two examples, what's the voice message to you about Bobby McFerrin?
For me, gosh, I would say that it is that the voice is such an expansive instrument that can be played with skill as you continue to learn and practice its limits, I guess. I mean, I know that sounds obvious that it's an instrument, but like again, back to the string analogy, like you start learning how to play an instrument, and with practice and practice and practice, you become you can become a proficient pianist or proficient violinist. But sometimes we don't take that same thought process and apply it to the voice. And we sometimes just think that people just are born with that natural talent. And I really think that it's an instrument that can be stretched to abilities that with practice and precision and training and all of the same things. And I think that that's the voice message for me with Bobby McFerrin.
No, for sure. I especially love that whole, just comparing it to another instrument. So often when I get students, when I'm working with students, it's something that I have to teach them how to practice.
Yeah.
It's not just a natural skill, which I guess makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But when we study anything else, we recognize that repetition matters. But when we go to sing, I think because it's such an innate and personal instrument, we just sing.
Yeah.
We sing the song start to finish. You have to stop and go, what part is not working? And really isolate it and do 2-3 notes, because that's often what happens. It's like, that note's not working. So I'm going to work on that note. And then you work on the note previous to it, because how are you going to get that note that's not working? Well, you have to go through this note to do it. And so you have to practice the approach and practice the approach and practice the transition and the approach over and over and over again. And it's learning how to treat the voice like that, just like you would practice typing or playing scales or something like that we so often take the voice in a separate category because we use it and it's with us all the time. On the subject of agility, of this ability to go all throughout his range, Bobby McFerrin is doing, you look at like a Christina Aguilera, and she's like the champion, the queen of riffs, right?
Yeah.
Well, to do a riff well, you need to be in tune and you need to move fast. And so you have to work each of those notes over and over and over again until you can each of those notes, until your voice can quickly go over those passages with the speed that you want. But so often singers are so impatient, especially if they're like, well, I sound good, so I should just be able to sing. No, the piano sounds good when you push one note, but we need to work on getting all of them in order and having the way we play it. It's how we execute the instrument.
Yes, it's a muscle. It's a muscle in the same way that we would condition our running muscles, or in order to reach a goal, an athletic goal. We wouldn't just start running and assume that we would be able to be our fastest or at our best. That's not what's going to happen. We're going to have to do the same thing with our voices. It's a muscle that needs to be trained, and it takes time.
Yeah. So fantastic message. Yay, Bobby McFerrin.
So great. Love him.
And that's our voice message for the week. Go forth,
create and elevate,
and use your voices wisely. Bye.
Bye.